Home bill.
I have bills, children.
I can't pay my rent.
You know, I don't have enough money to pay my bills and buy food and have to buy tennis shoes every 4 or 5 months.
A few scattered protests hardly amounts to a strike or movement. Huh?
I've never done this before.
It's just too important.
Es muy importante.
We won't stop, not until we win.
I believe that we will win.
We will win for our kids.
I believe we will win.
I believe that we will
win.
Creo que ganaremos. I believe we will win.
I believe we will win.
I believe
That we will win.
We will win.
I believe we will win.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Michigan's Congressman and the next Senator from the great state of Michigan, Gary Peters.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome, Netroots Nation, to the great city of Detroit. Well, it is really an honor and a privilege for me to welcome all of you to Detroit and to the 14th Congressional District. I have the great privilege of representing half of this city, as well as some of the northern suburbs wrapping through the greater Detroit area. And I'm a firm believer, as I know so many of you in this audience are as well, that you cannot have a greater Detroit region, you cannot have a great state of Michigan unless you have a strong and vibrant city of Detroit right in the middle of it all. And that's why I'm so excited that Netroot Nation is here, because you are committed to this great city. And you believe, as I do, that the best days are ahead for the city of Detroit, which is why you are located here today for this convention over these next few days. And I'm going to have a special request for you, because I know the power that is in this audience. I know the power that you have to blog and to communicate. I know the power that you have to tell stories about justice and standing up for what's right. So I'm asking you today to tell a number of stories about Detroit. Now, I know the bankruptcy is dominating most of the mainstream media. It's what most of the people around the country hear. But we know that there are many, many more stories about Detroit. There are many wonderful stories that you need to share, and I ask you, please, when you leave this place, if you're not doing it today, when you leave in the days ahead, blog about how wonderful the city of Detroit is. Blog and tell the story about the wonderful people that make up the city, the spirit that they have, that if they're willing to work hard. Tell about the spirit that they've been through some very tough times, but the people of the city of Detroit work hard, and they believe if they work hard and play by the rules, they should be able to live the American dream. All they need is a fair shot, and if they get a fair shot, this city will flourish. Tell them about what you sense of the spirit of entrepreneurialism, the innovation that is going on in this place. You know, I'm very proud. The greater Detroit area is home to more engineers per capita than any other region of the country. There's incredible intellectual talent. If you go around the city and you go to a place called Detroit Ventures, just down the street from where you are now, and if you close your eyes and you open your eyes when you walk in, you will think you're in Silicon Valley, California. We've got young people that are creating the businesses of tomorrow, and they are using the internet, which is why we have to fight for net neutrality and make sure the internet continues to have access. The moment that we start letting big corporations rule the internet will be the end of innovation here in the city of Detroit and cities like it and towns all across this country. We will stand firm. I know you will stand firm, and the power will still reside with the people to command the internet. I am with you in that fight. And please, as you're telling stories about Detroit, please tell the story of the wonderful beauty that we have, the wonderful Detroit River, the Great Lakes, what you are seeing, and how this incredible environment is fragile, and why in this campaign and what I'm going to do throughout my U.S. Senate campaign is to make sure that people know that climate change is real, it is a threat, and we need to deal with it now. Now, you can tell I'm very proud of this city. I'm very proud of this state. My dad was a teacher for 30 years, and my mom worked in a nursing home, and I love seeing that video before I came out because my mother helped organize her nursing home and became a proud union steward for the SEIU. It was the American labor movement that was really born here in the great state of Michigan, and it's a labor movement that created the middle class in the city that you're in right now. But to tell a little bit of a story, we came close to losing it. We had a situation when I first ran for Congress in 2008. As you know, the economy was spinning out of control. We were looking down the cliff into the abyss and couldn't see the bottom, and we came very close to losing our auto industry, which would have been catastrophic for this state. In fact, I remember, I will never forget as a new member of Congress, sitting at the Chrysler headquarters with the chairman of Chrysler, the president, CEO, and his people, and he told me, he said, "Congressman, let me be very clear, we're heading towards bankruptcy. But if we don't get cash from the federal government, I am going to have to liquidate this company. I will not be able to reorganize it. Wall Street is a mess. I can't get money from Wall Street. I need cash in order to get out of this mess." And here I was sitting in the Chrysler headquarters. It's the second largest building next to the Pentagon if you go up to Auburn Hills. And I had immediately had visions of grass growing in the parking lot, of lives shattered. I looked around the room that I was in and I saw on people's faces they hadn't heard their CEO say that they were literally weeks away from the company that employed them and their family's future was going to disappear and it was going to be liquidated. Well, I went back to Washington, my colleagues went back to Washington, and I will say right now, thank God for President Obama. He stood up for American workers here in Detroit. And there were people that fought that. In fact, the person I'm running against here for the U.S. Senate said she would not have supported that rescue. I don't know how you can be a senator from Michigan and not support a rescue and stand with workers in our state. I stood with workers. I will continue to stand with workers as the next United States Senator from Michigan. But I have a very tough race because I've got some big opponents, and my biggest opponent also was against that auto rescue, and that is the Koch brothers. You obviously know them well. The Koch brothers have already spent over $6.5 million trying to beat me in this race. They just put another $1 million by as they go forward. And I'll tell you, it is personal to me because I actually took on the Koch brothers. It's why they are spending the kind of money. One, they want to try to take back the Senate, but they also want to defeat me because I took on the Koch brothers. In fact, just down the river from where we are sitting right here, the Koch brothers were engaged in an activity that threatened the health of Southwest Detroit, threatened our Great Lakes. They were piling up these huge piles of pet coke. Pet coke, what pet coke is the residual when you refine Canadian tar sands oil. Every barrel of Canadian tar sand leads about a third of pet coke. Pet coke is considered the dirtiest of the dirtiest fuels. We don't burn a lot here in the United States because of our environmental rules. So they put it on a ship, they send it to China, they burn it in China, and it comes right back to us. But they were piling this stuff up right down the river here. It was a city block long, 5 stories high. The stuff was blowing into people's houses. It was getting into lungs. My constituents were complaining about it with respiratory issues with the waitstaffs and from the businesses. Southwest Detroit, a community that continually gets dumped on, and they were getting dumped on again. And I said, enough is enough. We went to the Department of Environmental Quality and said, what's going on here? The Department of Environmental Quality said that, because I was very concerned about the runoff to the Great Lakes, and what they said in the Great Lakes, they said, well, the company's taking care of it. They built this berm around the pet coke to prevent the runoff into the Great Lakes. And then they put in this letter, and I can't believe they put this in the letter. But what they said in the letter, this berm catches the water runoff, and then there is a drain, but we don't know where the drain goes. The Michigan Department of Environmental Quality. Now I said, I'm not a hydrologist. I'm not a scientist, but the drain is here, the river is here. I think I know where that drain goes. And sure enough, it was flushing right into the Great Lakes. And then they said the dust was under control in that letter, all the complaints I'm getting. And then 2 weeks later, a Canadian resident right across the river here had this video of this massive black cloud of dust blowing off of the pet coke piles. The Ambassador Bridge, which you can see, was completely obscured by the dust. It was blowing through the neighborhood, blowing into the river, blowing into Canada. Ladies and gentlemen, that is not dust control. It is clear that the Koch brothers do not care about Michigan. They don't care about Detroit. They have an anti-middle class agenda, and they are trying to buy this election so they can continue their polluting ways. We will not let them buy this election. We are going to turn people out. And that is what this election's about. We cannot let basically these billionaires come in, swoop in, and deceive people and put misleading ads. In fact, every ad they've run against me has been debunked by every fact checker there is. So on election day, it's incumbent about everybody in this room. It's incumbent on everyone that we know to get out and to say in so loud and no uncertain terms that elections in this country will not be bought. We will not tolerate it. This is still a country by the people and for the people, and we will make that difference. Well, now I have a very, very special honor to welcome someone who I look forward to serving with in the United States Senate. I met Senator Warren when I was a new member of Congress at a seminar for new members. And then she was a professor, and as I listened to her and talk about her passion for middle-class families and people who aspire to be in the middle class and how we need to stand up and protect them from abusive practices when it comes to financial products, whether it's credit card debt or mortgages or payday lenders, she had a passion that was just unparalleled. In fact, the reason we have a Consumer Financial Protection Bureau in this country is because of Elizabeth Warren. She has been a tireless fighter, and I think she would have been a great director of that Consumer Protection Bureau. We know the Republican senators said we won't support her, and Elizabeth Warren, because of the fighter that she is, she says, well, you may not support me for this, then I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to run for the United States Senate, I'm going to stand right next to you, and I'm going to fight you from the Senate floor, and that's what she did. In summary, Elizabeth Warren has been a voice for those who do not have a voice. She has been a tireless champion on the Senate floor. And I ask all of you to join me today to lend your voice now back to Senator Warren. Please welcome to Detroit and Netroots Nation, Senator Elizabeth Warren.
Sit down. Sit down. Sit down. Come on, let's get started. Sit down, sit down, sit down, sit down. Thank you very much. Thank you, Gary, for the introduction. Thank you, Raven and Nolan and Adam and Mary and Linda for putting all of this together. I am so glad to have this chance to be here with you. I love it. You know, a lot of us in this room have history. We have a lot of history. 5 years ago, I was fighting hard for a new consumer agency to keep the big banks from cheating families on mortgages and credit cards. And I went to see a lot of experts in Washington. I went to try to talk to people about the idea for this agency. The economy had crashed. Here was one way that we could fix things so this wouldn't happen again. This is one way we could level the playing field a little bit for families. So I went and talked to these experts and a lot of people on our side. And they almost all told me the same two things. First thing they said, great idea. This could actually make a real difference in people's lives. The second thing they said is don't do it. Don't even get out there and fight for it. Don't even propose it. And they said don't do it because the biggest banks in this country will hate it and you will lose. Well, the experts got that half right, and that is, no surprise, the big banks really did hate it. I mean, they really hated it. They spent, are you ready for this? In addition to all their campaign contributions and everything else, they spent more than $1 million a day for more than a year lobbying against financial reforms. I mean, they really put their money where their mouth is on this one. But the experts were also very wrong. We fought back and we won. That's what we did. That's what we did. We won, and that's what I want to talk about today. We won because you and a zillion other people across this country got in the fight. We won because you got out there, you broke news, you wrote opinion pieces, you organized petitions, you built coalitions, you kept that idea alive. You called out sleazy lobbyists and cowardly politicians. You said, we the people will have this agency, and you are the ones who won. You won this fight. And you know, it matters. These fights really do matter. That little agency is almost 3 years old now, and it has already forced the biggest financial institutions in this country to return more than $4 billion to consumers they cheated. That's making government work for us. But never miss the central point of this story. The CFPB is proof of how democracy can work in the 21st century. It is proof that if we push back against the biggest, strongest, most ruthless lobbying effort in the country, that if we push back hard, we can win. We fight, we win. Now, I understand we don't win every time, and we're still trying to figure out how to make it all work. But we have united our voices, and when we unite our voices, we can win. We did it in my Senate race when Wall Street said they would send money to Scott Brown by the double bucketfuls, and we still pushed back and managed to win by 8 points. Thank you very much. We did that. We did it together. You did it when you got out there and stopped SOPA. You did this by getting organized and fighting back. No, we don't win every time, But we're learning to win. We're learning to win, and we will keep winning. We will fight, and we will win. That's my message today. But I want to talk about what we're up against. I want to talk about what's happening in this country. I make no mistake, this isn't easy. We can't win what we won't fight for, and it will be a hard fight. Today, many powerful companies look for every possible way they can to boost their profits and to boost their CEO bonuses. They try to run more efficient companies. They try to grow faster. They try to beat out the competition. But many of them have another plan. They use their money and their connections to try to capture Washington and rig the rules in their favor. From tax policy to retirement security, those with power fight to make sure that every rule tilts in their favor. Everyone else just gets left behind. That's what we're up against. That's what democracy is up against. Just look at the big banks. They cheated American families, crashed the economy, got bailed out, and now the biggest banks are even bigger than they were when they were too big to fail in 2008. They still swagger through Washington, blocking reforms and pushing around agencies. A kid gets caught with a few ounces of pot and goes to jail, but a big bank launders drug money and no one gets arrested. The game is rigged, and it isn't right. It's rigged. But it isn't just the big banks. Look at the choices that the federal government makes right now. Our college kids are getting crushed by student loan debt. We need to rebuild our roads and bridges and upgrade our power grids. We need more investment in medical research and scientific research. But instead of building a future, this country is bleeding billions of dollars in tax loopholes and subsidies that go to rich and powerful corporations. Billion-dollar companies take advantage of every benefit they can squeeze out of the American government. And then they put together sleazy deals with foreign countries so that they can renounce their American citizenship and pay no taxes. Billionaires pay taxes at lower rates than their secretaries. How does this happen? It happens because they all have lobbyists. Lobbyists and Republican friends in Congress. Lobbyists and Republicans to protect every loophole and every privilege. The game is rigged and it isn't right. It is not right. You bet. Or take a look at what happens with trade deals. For big corporations, trade negotiations are like Christmas morning. They can get special gifts through trade negotiations that they could never get through Congress. How does that happen? Because trade negotiations are held in secret so that big corporations can do their work behind closed doors. Giant corporations get insider access to promote their interests, while workers' rights and environmental regulations are just gutted. From what I hear, Wall Street, pharmaceuticals, telecom, big polluters, outsourcers are all smacking their lips at the possibility of rigging the upcoming trade deals. Now, stop and ask yourself, why are trade deals secret? Well, I've actually heard supporters say they have to be secret because if people knew what was going on, they would be opposed. It's true. It's actually true from the supporters. Well, my view is if people would be opposed, then we shouldn't have those trade deals. That's right. That's right. You bet. The tilt in the playing field is everywhere. When conservatives talk about opportunity, they mean opportunity for the rich to get richer and the powerful to get more powerful. They don't mean opportunities for a young person with $100,000 of student loan debt to try to build a future. They don't mean opportunities for someone out of work to get back on their feet. They don't mean opportunities for someone who worked hard all her life to retire with dignity. The game is rigged, and the rich and the powerful have lobbyists and lawyers and plenty of friends in Congress. Everybody else, not so much. So the way I see this is we can whine about it, we can whimper about it, or we can fight back. I'm fighting back. I'm ready to fight back. Are you ready to fight back on this? So sit down, come on, sit down, sit down. Let's talk about this fight. This is a fight over economics, a fight over privilege, a fight over power. But deep down, it is a fight over values. Conservatives and their powerful friends will continue to be guided by their internal motto. I got mine, the rest of you are on your own. Well, we're guided by principle, and it's a pretty simple idea. We all do better when we work together and invest in building a future. We know that this economy grows when hardworking families have the opportunity to improve their lives. We know that this country gets stronger when we invest in helping people succeed. We know that our lives improve when we care for our neighbors and we help build a future, not just for some of our kids, but for all of our kids. That's what we believe. These are progressive ideas. These are progressive values. These are America's values. And these are the values we are willing to fight for. So sometimes we have to get together and we have to talk about what are our values. We have to talk about what does it mean to be a progressive. We have to talk about what does it mean to be an American. So let's spend a minute talking about what we believe. We believe that Wall Street needs stronger rules and tougher enforcement, and we're willing to fight for it. We're willing to fight for it. We believe in science, and that means that we have a responsibility to protect this earth, and we will fight for it. We believe that the internet shouldn't be rigged to benefit big corporations, and that means real net neutrality, and we will fight for it. We believe that no one should work full-time and still live in poverty. That means raising the minimum wage, and we will fight for it. We will fight for it. And let me add to that. We believe that fast food workers deserve a livable wage, and that means when they take to the picket line, we are proud to fight alongside them. That's what it means. You bet. We believe that students are entitled to get an education without being crushed by debt, and we are willing to fight for it. We are willing. We believe that after a lifetime of work, people are entitled to retire with dignity, and that means protecting Social Security, Medicare, and pensions, and we will fight for them. We will fight. Oh, we believe. Ollie, I can't believe I have to say this in 2014. We believe in equal pay for equal work, and we're willing to fight for it. You bet. Yep. I'm going to do this. We believe that equal means equal, and that's true in marriage, it's true in the workplace, it's true in all of America, and we're willing to fight for it. You bet. We believe that immigration has made this country strong and vibrant, and that means reform, and we are willing to fight for it. That's right. Oh, and we believe that corporations are not people, that women have a right to their bodies. We will overturn Hobby Lobby, and we will fight for it. We will fight for it. Right here in this room. Right here in this room. This is where it happens. This is 21st century democracy. This is the future of America. This is where we decide that we, the people, will fight for what we believe in. We're going to do this together, and we're going to win. That's what's going to happen. Good to see you all. That's what's going to happen. You bet.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Rebelo. Quickly. Hi. Wow, Elizabeth Warren, wow, right? Hey, I'm honored to be here. I'm here in part to hear Senator Warren's speech, and I'm also here for the water rally. So, I hope all of you join us out front at 12:30 for the water rally. The future of America is Detroit, and it's the choice between our America or the 0.001% America. So be there.